In this video, I'm going to explore some of the fun things that I've done to bring more joy, more well-being in my life in the last 30 days. Number one is it's hard to take fun seriously in our culture. We are a cult that looks at objectivity, at random facts, trivia, really, that we take extremely seriously. But when it comes to joy, we don't take it seriously. So one of the hacks around that, which I find useful, is to try and teach other people. Because we take teaching seriously. So if you want to grow something that you're not growing, if you want to do something well that you're lazy with or not doing very well, one of the best things that I've found is to turn it into a teaching project, like what I'm doing right here. And so about 27 days ago, I had prescribed an hour of joy to a particularly miserable friend of mine, meaning our culture produces plenty of miserable people with very painful histories and all of that. But, in his 50s, it seems like he's holding on to that pain with a rather high commitment. And so my suggestion to him was create an hour a day with the focus of feeling joy and maximum well-being. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you set the intention. Secondly, you set aside the hour. Thirdly, you set up a system to, an alarm or whatever to remind you to start and finish. So you've got a boundary. Fourth, you figure out the most joyful things you can possibly do to boost your well-being for 1 hour a day. And like many of the great ideas I've come up with over the years, he took, absolutely no notice of it. In fact, it was interesting because he was complaining that other people didn't take care of him and weren't doing this and weren't doing that. And he was nobilizing the fact that he didn't take care of himself. He took care of other people. And I asked him why. I said, why is it that you think other people should care more for you and about you than you care about yourself? Because people take their cue from the way that you treat yourself, as that's how valuable you are. And so if you're teaching everyone to treat you poorly, why do you expect them to do a better job of taking care of you than you do of taking care of yourself, right? It's a shaky proposition. And instead of answering the question, he bent over, had a major back spasm, and went into hospital in absolute misery for the next week and avoided the question there as well, right? And so, one could say that, he was uncomfortably moving towards joy. And when it got to a point where there could be a pivot, he, dynamically escalated his misery. And this is not at all personal to him. I've done that. Most people have done that at times, because what we're doing is we're protecting our identity. The identity is simply the habit of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being that we are familiar with. Why are we familiar with it? Because it was in our family. Family, familiar, so we became comfortable with a norm, regardless of how insane or destructive the norm might be. So when we go out of the familiar terrain and change our identity, we have to confront the fear of the unknown. And there's also often family contracts of abuse where, if you've agreed to carry Uncle Harry's guilt or, Aunt Sally's secret. And you start to change that. There's a contract being broken. And there was a reason we chose to hide certain things and do certain things and become certain things as children to survive, to fit within the family. And so those things, the body feels like there's some jeopardy when those shifts get made. So one of my favorite things to do is give advice, understanding that it is rarely followed and received well. But that's fine because I'm developing an idea that I'm trying to give advice about, right? And then take my own advice and watch my life go up. One of the reasons I think I give good advice is every single time I take my own advice, my life gets better. And so having decided, that what Daniel needed was an hour of joy a day, and noticing the various ways that he blocked and defended against the idea, protecting his misery, then, as we all protect our identity, whatever it is, then I decided to do it myself. And I noticed that it was hard. So it wasn't just hard for Daniel to make an hour of joy every single day. I started tensing up about it and doing all. So I thought, okay, so there's something here. So this is great. I'll get to figure that out. So I turned it into a teaching project, and I wrote a book. Basically, I'm finishing it. It's basically 30 Days of Joy, but it's going through the meta conversations about the process. And the next thing that I did, because what I realized when my alarm would go off for this hour of joy is I felt, kind of a perfectionist dread of how am I going to do joy? It's like, I've got to do joy now. What do I do? And it was an unfamiliar, it was an unfamiliar question. And so the answer didn't come. And it didn't feel joyful to just be in an awkward moment. So the joy was actually going down around this hour of joy. So I decided I would solve that by making a list of 40 different things that I could do that had a good chance of boosting my well-being more than normal. So, making a beautiful cup of tea, writing about these subjects, eating a delicious dish that I prepared, making a card, writing a poem, that kind of thing. So 40 things that were designed to boost the list. And so my protocol then became, rather than feel any pressure about this, I'd print off 7 of those a week. And I'll put a clipboard by the side of my bed with those 7 things, and each one has a point for a check mark. So the alarm goes off, hour of joy begins, and I run down the list and check anything that I'm interested in. And often I'll check more than can be done in an hour. So then I'll look at the finalists, like these are the things I want to make sure. And now I've got 3 or 4 things that I want to do, so I'm not questioning about that. And then when I'm done with the hour of joy, then I write what went on, what I did in the hour, what was the percentage of increased well-being, what was going on in leading up into the hour of joy, meta conversations about my life, and then reflections about what I'm noticing about the hour of joy and that kind of thing. And so that's, this had a major shift because it became the main intention. The hour of joy became the organizing principle. And so what began happening was I began doing lots of joyful things outside the hour of joy. One, because it was fun, but 2, because I got the message that that's actually the point. And so why stop at the hour? And so, that's been a lot of fun. One of the interesting things also is that some things that are joyful, I don't feel like making them happen, but if I make them happen, they feel really good. So music is one of those things. And so my consumption of music is up 300 or 400% very positively, mostly by listening on YouTube, just going to classical music, but also some of my favorite pop songs, just play them on YouTube. And it's a good speaker system around the house. And so a lot more music. Some old CDs that I've put on, and some, playing out of my phone speaker. So 400% increase in music. The daily discipline of having a discipline to create joy. A creative writing project, which gives some structure. Another, huge hit that emerged out of this focus on joy is, of course, laughter has a lot to do with joy. And I've discovered this channel on YouTube called Just for Laughs Gags. And I find it 4 times funnier than the funniest stand-up comedians. And this isn't saying that much. Whether it's Seinfeld or anyone else, I don't laugh out loud listening to almost any stand-up comedians. And I do smile, laugh, and greatly enjoy these relatively nonverbal Just for Laughs gags. And so I'm listening and watching maybe 30 minutes of those a day. And it's hilarious. So I don't know, 15% improvement in joy and well-being overall in my life from the Just for Laugh gags. It's sometimes something I'll put into my hour of joy. Then I, because I'm organizing around this principle of intention around joy, games, of course, are fun. And so I bought a pool table. I bought a miniature ping pong table. And I bought a foosball, table. And so games are up hundreds of percent in the house with those purchases. They come out to around $1,000, somewhere in that range. And I just got a hockey ice or a slide glide hockey table that's coming on Friday. So with that, I'm sure it's $1,000. But we've got a good 10 to 20% increase in well-being in the household, meaning I'm enjoying it more. I'm spending more time with my, with my wife, playing these things. We're having fun with that. Giving Jen more cards has brought more well-being. Another thing is looking at exactly where I am, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm thinking and feeling. So this is what I'm doing right now. There's some stress. There's some, I just focus on loving this me right now. And every time I do that, there's a boost of energy, a boost of well-being, a sense of smiling and coming into the moment. And so these are some of the highlights of the last 30 days that anyone is free to edit, copy, iterate, or do something even better. Hi, I'm Dane Rose. All knowledge begins with a paradigm, and out of that paradigm comes an idea, an awareness that we adopt, reject, or synthesize into something better. It doesn't become wisdom, it doesn't become useful until we take action, until we integrate it into not only our thoughts, but our feelings, our body, our words, and our way of being. For that to occur, we have to move from the passive media paradigm into more active engagement. In the link below, in the More Information section, is an invitation to join a very small, deliberately filtered, high-quality discussion with a group of people who share a common language and want to work with these ideas, with me and with one another, with the sole goal of creating 10 times more sustainable well-being for ourselves and those around us per unit of energy invested. Thank you for watching.